Bonjour, everyone. It is Sue with Retiring to France on a Shoestring. And now that I have completed the 4-part series that showcases the locations that I will be traveling to in my upcoming scouting trip to France in February, time to talk about some other stuff, or time to also get into focusing on some other stuff. Some of the things that I will be talking about in the next several weeks, especially, will be turning my attention back to downsizing the possessions that I still have. I'll also give you all a little intro and a look into the tiny lifestyle that I already have right now, living in my 32-foot, 292 square foot Class A recreational vehicle, aka motorhome. I do have a lot of outdoor living elements that I have accumulated in the last 4.5 years since I've been stationary in this location in Central Texas, as I was working remotely and traveling in my teardrop trailer, not in this thing, because it gets 6 miles to the gallon. And with the price of gas right now, it's actually pretty reasonable where I live. It's about $2.42 per gallon, which is nice, but still at 6 miles per gallon, and the fact that the very closest place to go that is not considered local is probably 200 miles away, that's still a pricey trip, no matter how you look at it. So much more fun to take the teardrop trailer. One of the other topics that I will start focusing on is the part of my journey that is retiring on a shoestring, as in very little money. Now, as it stands today, I probably have, give or take, $2,000 or $3,000, honestly. Only about $120,000 in retirement funds, and a little bit, probably about $10,000 in cash on hand, my emergency fund. And I do have more cash that I know of that will be coming in through January. And then I will also be selling my teardrop trailer, and eventually I will be selling this RV as well. And I know pretty much what the going rates are for those. I already have a quote from the guy that I bought my teardrop trailer from. Fantastic outfit. And I will be getting probably $16,000 for that cash. And then for this rig, it'll be interesting because I've seen anywhere between 15 and 22. So not a ton of money, but honestly, I only spent $17,000 to get this rig in 2016. Totally gutted it and redid it. Now, granted, I do have some things that I need to either fix up or repair or replace. For example, my chassis battery, little things like that aren't necessarily tremendously expensive. But I'll probably have to put another, I'm guessing maybe at most $4,000 into this rig in order to have it sales ready. So that's the shoestring, folks. Now, after January, what I do intend on doing is getting a part-time gig or doing what I used to do for a living, which is creating training, doing voiceovers, doing video development, and I can do all sorts of contract jobs with that that are short-term. I don't really want anything that's longer than maybe 3 months at the most, because I would like to do a lot of different projects. But my goal is, starting after I get back from the trip from France, is to focus on that kind of project all the way up until I leave, which will be sometime next September 2025. And that will put a lot more into the fairly lean retirement savings tank. Now, when my contract job ended at the end of May, I am still looking for jobs in my field, and so far it has been fairly lean, because for every job that I am applying to, and I'm only applying to the ones that I am pretty much qualified for and that also sound interesting, there are no less than 100, sometimes 300 people that are applying for these jobs. So if I'm able to snag one that would be about a year commitment, fantastic. But I'm under no illusion in this marketplace that that's going to happen. So I'm totally cool with doing short-term gigs because I actually like doing lots of different things. And I am looking forward to that. That said, I am still in the honeymoon phase of retiring, and it's been 4 months, and so far I'm not bored. I have found things to do every single day. I have followed a lot of the retirement experts' advice to make sure that I have a schedule and things to do every day, or at least multiple times a week, to make sure that there's some continuity, especially in keeping up with friends and loved ones. And that has been easy. Now, that all said, today I want to touch base on an article that I was reading that made me think about doing this video. And so you'll have to excuse me at times because I've got the article right in front of me and I'm not good enough at memorizing all this information to be able to not read it. But this is an article from Morningstar, and I will put the link in the description for this video, that is talking about almost half of those who retire at 65 could run out of money. Since I retired at 65, I was immediately attracted to this article. So let's go through some of the highlights. First off, almost half of American households are predicted to run short of money in retirement if the person or persons stop working at 65. And that is because we all are living a lot longer and a lot healthier for the most part. The article profiles information from a new Morningstar model. And this model predicts that 45% of American households will run short of money in retirement. The outlook for single women is even more bleak, with about 55% of women, single women over 65, seen as at risk in retirement, compared with 41% of couples. That's still a pretty high statistic, but 55% does make you kind of sit back for a second. In addition to a lot of other demographic data, this article states that baby boomers and Gen X have a higher risk of experiencing retirement shortfalls. Baby boomers at about 52% overall, and Gen X at 47% overall, compared to millennials, which is only 44%, and Gen Z, which is 37%. One of the reasons they point out for this is that both baby boomers, which is me, and Gen X, we came of working age when pensions were starting to go away and then pretty much have disappeared except in certain industries. So there wasn't as much time in many ways to be able to save as much if we didn't start very, very early, which I was not able to. I did start saving when I was in my mid-20s, and then I went back to school, to professional school, and then started my own chiropractic practice, and I ran that for about 10 years, and during that 10 years, almost every single penny that I made was either going into salaries for the people that worked for me, overhead, almost nothing into retirement, and then whatever was left at the end of the month came to me. And that is true for a lot of small businesses or people that work for businesses where they just don't have the option to save because they're just not making as much as they need to on an hourly basis in order to be able to put stuff away for their future. It's an interesting article because it does take a deeper dive into other aspects of this shortfall that is going to be expected. I do urge you to take a look at it if you're interested. It's a fairly short article, but again, it underscores a lot of the sound financial principles that those of you who are watching this that are much younger than me do need to be paying attention to in your 20s, 30s, 40s, and for those of us who are older, as much as we can focus on it as we are in our older years, to try to do as much as we can. Now, I feel very blessed that I have had a very lucrative career in many ways, especially after I sold my practice And I was able to start chunking money away, but it wasn't as much as I wanted to. And then in 2008, well, any of us who had investments in 2008, a lot of those got erased or very greatly diminished. And so it was kind of like starting back over again. Feel very blessed and lucky that I was able to do that. But along those lines, because I have had fairly lucrative jobs, I am able right now to live 100% on my Social Security income and not have to touch one penny of my retirement savings. Now, the cash fund that I haven't really had to dip into that as well, but it is there for emergency fund and for unplanned expenses. I do have a separate fund that I put money away in each month for the insurances for my car, for my RV, for my travel trailer. And I have no debt except for my car payment. And I bought that car in August of 2023. At that point in time, I was not planning on leaving my government contract until next March of 2025. So my goal when I bought that car was to have that completely paid off by the time I decided to retire. But again, shite happens, and that was not going to be the case. So some of my cash reserves, if needed, will be used to pay off any remaining amount of my car before I make the move to France, unless, topic for possibly another video, I have to look more into it, I decide to ship my car over to Europe. I have a 2023 electric vehicle, a Hyundai Ioniq 5, that has a hitch for my travel trailer and some other fancy stuff that I have added to it. So I expect, even with some of the downturn in pricing for used EVs, mine is still holding pretty tight to where it is. So hopefully there's another thing that I hope, stays in place. But I am exploring taking it over there. One of the nice things about driving in France is that cars there are similar to in the United States and Canada, where the driver is on the left side and not on the right side. And I also believe, and I need to look into this, I also believe that some of the modifications that are required for vehicles being brought into France are already inherent and part of the Ioniq line when they developed the Ioniq 5 and the Ioniq 6. And then they now have, I think, an Ioniq 7 that is going to be coming out. And they did that so that there would be one model pretty much for global consumption. That's a topic for another day. But I just wanted to get on here today and start talking about some of the other things that I will be exploring on this channel. Once again, thank you for joining me. I appreciate your comments and your encouragement through private messages. Especially you guys are fantastic. And again, United States, we call everybody you guys. Even though I'm in the South, I don't say y'all that often. If you are so inclined, I would love it if you would like or subscribe to follow me along on this journey. And again, anybody who has insight in any of the things that I talk about regarding my upcoming move, all the wisdom and information is most welcome. I hope you all have a fantastic afternoon or evening or morning, wherever you may be. And I will see you next time. Au revoir.